Oh, hello, I didn't see you there. Well, my name is Dorothy Wisworth, and I'm here to tell you all about American radicalism. So, let's start back all the way to Bacon's Rebellion now, shall we?
Bacon's Rebellion was an uprising in 1676 in the Virginia colony led by planter Nathaniel Bacon. Bacon and his followers resented Governor William Berkeley's friendly policies towards the Indians whose fur trade was monopolized by the governor. When Berkeley refused to retaliate for a series of Indian attacks on the frontier settlements, Bacon and his followers attacked the Indians. When Bacon suddenly died of disease, Berkeley launched a series of attacks across the Chesapeake Bay, ultimately crushing the uprising. While Governor Berkeley returned to power, the rebellion ended indentured servitude in the American colonies. This led to another option, Africa. Bacon's rebellion ultimately hardened the racial lines associated with slavery and entered America into the slave trade market. Less than 100 years later, tensions arose in the colonies once more. The Sons of Liberty was a secret organization of American patriots which organized in the 13 colonies before, during, and after the American Revolution. The Sons of Liberty existed in almost every colony, the organization spreading month by month after independence starts in many different colonies. Colonists following the Sons of Liberty resisted the Stamp Act in 1765 through legislative resolutions, public demonstrations, threats, and occasional violence. This movement was successful and the Stamp Act became unenforceable and was repealed in May 1766. In 1768, the Sons of Liberty were able to impose a virtual blockade of British goods in response to the Townshend Act. The Sons of Liberty also planned the Boston Tea Party, in response to high taxes on tea enforced by the Tea Act of 1773. Early in the American Revolution, the Sons of Liberty evolved into groups such as the Committee of Safety. After the American Revolution, the Sons of Liberty were able to gain enough seats in the New York Assembly elections to pass a set of laws against Loyalists. The Sons of Liberty helped gain a patriotic spirit among the colonists during the Revolution. It was their spirit that pushed the colonists to rebel and go on to win the Revolutionary War.
Shortly after the American Revolution, an alarming uprising known as Shays' Rebellion ignited in western Massachusetts in 1786. An armed band of farmers, numbering in the hundreds, led by Daniel Shay, a former officer in the Continental Army. Shay attempted to shut down the courts as a form of protest and to prevent the continued foreclosure of their farms and the collection of taxes. Hundreds of angry agitators, again seizing their muskets, attempted to enforce their demands. The farmers were met by an equally large state militia force, but they still managed to close the courts. In the end, Shay and his men were pardoned as the state of Massachusetts did modify its tax laws. But the rebellion made an indelible impression on the minds of some Americans and their political leaders. Civil disobedience could spread easily from country to country and state to state.
Later, in the height of racism during the Civil War, a new radical group was born. The Ku Klux Klan was a domestic militant organization originating in the southern states and eventually having national scope. The Ku Klux Klan is best known for advocating white supremacy and acting as terrorists while hidden behind conical hats, masks, and white robes. The original Ku Klux Klan was created in Tennessee in 1865. The Ku Klux Klan casually attacked and killed blacks whose bodies were left on the roads. In 1867, the Klan gathered to try and create a hierarchical organization with local chapters, eventually reporting up to a national headquarters. However, the local Klan units never accepted the prescript and continued to operate independently. There were never hierarchical levels or state headquarters, and old feuds and grudges at the local level were the cause of numerous attacks, as Klan members worked for their own dominance in the disrupted post-war society. They took out on blacks all their wrath at the federal government and continue to do so today on a less noticeable level.
Soon after the Civil War, labor issues began to occur among industrial workers. A focal point for the Knights of Labor was in Chicago. In addition, the city of Chicago was also honeycombed with a few hundred anarchists, many of them foreign-born, who were advocating a violent overthrow of the American government. Tensions erupted at the bloody Haymarket Square episode. Labor disorders had broken out, and on May 4, 1886, the Chicago police advanced on a meeting called to protest alleged brutalities by the authorities. suddenly a bomb was thrown that killed or injured several dozen people, including police. Although there was no proof that they had been involved, 8 anarchists were arrested, 4 of whom were executed. The public blamed trade unions for the violence. Turmoil in Chicago was serious but not yet completely out of hand. In 1894, a number of employees of the Pullman Palace Car Company were laid off. Led by the American Railway Union and its president, the soon-to-be head of the Socialist Party, Eugene Debs, a boycott was established that greatly affected the railroad industry in the Midwest. The boycott ended when President Cleveland sent in troops to make certain that the strikers did not interfere with the train delivery of U.S. mail. Labor unions became more common in America. Another labor group was born, the Industrial Workers of the World. The IWW was founded in 1905 at a convention of 200 socialists, anarchists, and racial trade unionists from all over the United States who were opposed to the policies of the American Federation of Labor. The IWW's goal was to promote worker solidarity at the struggle to overthrow the employing class. The IWW was also organized because of the belief among many unionists, socialists, anarchists, and radicals that the AFL had failed to effectively organize the U.S. working class, and that it was also organized according to narrow principles which divided the workers. The Wobblies, as they were called, believed that all workers should organize as one class. One of the IWW's most important contributions to the labor movement was that it welcomed all workers, including women, immigrants, and African Americans. The IWW held numerous strikes, and they exist today at a national level. It still pushes the workers' rights and continues to promote industrial unionism in America and abroad.
During the 1960s, at the height of freedom movements, the civil rights movement was among them. Black Power became an inspirational slogan made popular by Stokely Carmichael, which emphasized racial pride and the creation of black political and cultural institutions. The Black Power movement encouraged separatism and helped usher in black radical thought and action against white supremacy. Stokely Carmichael felt that the movement could help combat America's crippling racism. The Black Power movement led to organizations such as the Black Panther Party, which believed that achievement of black rights needed to be approached in a more violent way. Black Power has helped lead to many rights for African Americans that eventually helped them to their more equal status today.
The struggles of the 1960s against racism, poverty, and the war in Vietnam had momentous cultural consequences. Everywhere in the 1960s, America took on a newly negative attitude towards all kinds of authority. Protests against established authority broke out at the University of California at Berkeley in 1964, known as the Free Speech Movement. Fired by outrage against the war in Vietnam, some sons and daughters of the middle class became radical political rebels, and patriotism became a dirty word. Launching the youthful idealism, many of the cultural revolutions of the 1960s started out in violence. Students for a Democratic Society, once at the forefront of an anti-poverty and anti-war campaign, had by decade's end spawned an underground terrorist group called the Weathermen. The Weathermen organization was an American radical left organization founded in 1969 by leaders and members who split from the Students for a Democratic Society. This group is notable for a campaign from 1969 through the middle 1970s of riots, bombings, and a jailbreak. In 1970, the group issued a declaration of state of war against the United States government under the name Weather Underground Organization. The bombing attacks were mostly against government buildings along with several banks. Weathermen grew out of the revolutionary youth movement, within the SDS splitting off to pursue a more radical agenda. The Weathermen organization has also been compared to the Black Liberation Movement to achieve the destruction of U.S. imperialism and achieve a classless world communism. However, as the decades flowed into the 1970s, the flower children grew older and had children of their own. The civil rights movement fell silent, the war ended, and economic stagnation blighted the bloom of prosperity. Young people in the 1970s seemed more concerned with finding a job in the system than with tearing the system down.
Radical movements have occurred in America even before it became a country. It was a radical movement that led to the establishment of the United States. Over the years, American radicalism has helped earn more rights for minorities and the common man. However, some forms of radicalism are more dangerous than others. Our country needs radicalism to push forward new ideas and more opportunities for its citizens, and these movements will continue to occur in the future if we wish to make progress.